Something that comes up quite frequently in Java is being able to read in from a file and print out to a file. Most of everything we've done so far has been printing to the screen, and that's it. We read from the screen, print to the screen, and that's not always very helpful. In fact, most real honest-to-goodness programs, we don't do that, right? We've kind of left the command line interface type of world. And so a lot of times we want to read information in from a file. And so let's look and see how we do that. I'll go ahead and create a new Java file, public class file fun. And then I'll set up public static void main string args. Okay, so I've got the basic structure of the program here. Now to read in a file, I'm going to need a little help from my friends. We need to import the java.scanner class, java.util.scanner class, which we're familiar with probably, and import also the java.io.file class. Now this might be a new one for us. The IO stands for input output, and the class that we're getting at is the file class because we want to build a file object based on a file. Now I don't have a file, and so I'm going to create one and just say this is some text. Okay, I'll go ahead and save that, and I'll save it as just blah.txt. Okay, so I'm going to save that file, and I'll save it in the same folder as I'm going to save my program. So I'll save that and just hold it aside for a minute, and then I'm going to save my program into that same examples folder. Now, to create an instance of that file, I'm going to create a file object and give it a name. So I can just call it whatever I want to. F is fine. So file F is the name of the file. That's going to be a new file, and then inside the parentheses goes the location of the file. Now, I put this in the same folder so I can just write out the name of the file. The first place my program's going to look is in the same folder, and so if I've saved them in the same place, then I can just refer to the name of the file. Probably the safer thing to do is to type in the entire file path. So I have a folder in my C drive called examples, and that's where I'll be saving this. So C:\examples\text.txt. This is the location of the file. And remember, by the way, to put the quotes around the file. If we don't put the quotes, then when we try to compile it, it's going to try and treat it as a variable, and it's going to say, I have no idea what's going on here. So we got to have that inside quotes to tell us where that path of that file is. Now if I compile this again, I'm going to get an error that says illegal escape character. And now I realize I've run into a problem, because we know that inside strings, inside text, Java's given us the ability to do these escape characters where I can do a \n and go down to the next line, right? \t is a tab stop. And so there's various commands that the \/ is attached to. And so the problem is now I'm not intentionally wanting to do anything with the escape character, but because the \/ is reserved for escape characters, it's trying to escape to an E. And E doesn't mean anything. Now this one actually, \t does mean something. That means it'll tab out. And so if there was no \/ here, it would try and use that as a tab character. So how do we fix that? Well, there's two ways to fix it. One is that we know that to \/ to a \/ we do double \/ will print one \. If I do that there and there, now the program should work fine. Java's also given us the ability to do a forward slash in place of a backslash when we're doing these files, and it will treat it as a backslash. Okay, so now I've got it hooked up to the path. Now how do I actually get at the file? Well, we're going to use something we've used before, but in a different way. I'm going to create a scanner object called FileIn and set that equal to a new scanner. And normally what goes inside here, wouldn't normally we type system.in? Well, that's because we would be reading in from the system, right? We so far have been reading in and printing out to this little console area, right? But in this case, we don't want to attach the scanner to the system. We want to attach the scanner to the file. And so now that I've created that file object called F, I can drop that F in here like a bomb. I don't know. I can drop the F in here. Now that just sounds funny. I can drop the F in here. Yeah. I don't know it's hot in my office. Don't blame me for being delusional. Okay, so this is the file object that we've created called F. And this is going to contain the information for that particular file, including what's in it. I've now attached this scanner to that file that I've just created, and now I'm right at home because everything I want to do to the file I can do just like I did reading in from the console. So if I want to read in the word from the, in fact, let's just do the line. If I want to read in a line from the file, just like I used to go in.nextLine to read in from the what's the word I'm looking for? The console. I can say FileIn.nextLine to read in the next line from the file. And so if I create let me create a variable here to store the information. So this is going to be the line, and I'll set equal to blank to begin with. And so now I'll store a line of text that comes from that file, and then just to see if it worked, I'll print it out to the screen and see if this whole thing worked, okay? So I'll print whatever was read into the line. So let me compile this and run it. Now I'm going to get an error here that says there's an unreported exception. Because I'm trying to hook the scanner up to a file, by doing that there's a potential for getting an error. And so what it's telling me is you really ought to put this inside a try-catch, because if by chance the file isn't there, your program's going to crash. So I'll indent all of this, put it inside a try, add a catch that's going to handle the file not found exception. Okay. And then I'll just print out something like, sorry, bad file name. Okay. So now we're catching that error, and it should like us a lot more. It didn't like us a lot more. File not found exception. I need to import that exception as well. So I'll import the java.util.file not found exception. Is it in the I/O? Okay, I lied. It's not in the scanner, it's in the I/O library. And so we've got this file not found exception that we're going to catch now if there's a bad file name. Okay, and so we run the program, and what happens? Well, it actually got the text, right? This is some text. Okay, and if we added a second line to our file, this is also some text. So I've got 2 lines in the file. If I compile and run this program again, what's it going to do? Well, it's still only going to get that 1 line of text because it's only reading in a line, right? But if I repeat that process and I say, let's go put in that line Now, after we've read in one line, we want to read in another line and then print out what's in there. So we're basically repeating the process twice, and this is going to become important as we discuss this idea of a buffer. All right, I got an error as I tried to read in the next line from the file. Did I not save it? Let's try this again. Nope. Okay, we're getting an error. This is live. Again, trying to prove I'm not perfect. So we read in one line from the file, print out that line, and we read in another line from the file. There should be no problem with that. No line found. I'm baffled. Now you're probably at home sitting there going, oh, he's just doing this wrong. But you can't tell me that, so I get to sit here and look like a fool. There are 2 lines in that file, I believe. In fact, let's just add a third. Here's a third line for fun. Oh, I know what the problem is. I've attached to the wrong file. Why didn't anybody tell me that? See, this is when it all breaks down, because now you found out that I recorded one of these videos first. It didn't work. The first time I used text.txt as my file. So here's the text.txt file that only has one line in it. I made some sort of stupid thing, and it was stupid enough that I was 6 minutes into the video and I said, I'm going to start over again and record this thing again better than the first time. So what's really sad is now you realize how bad the first time must have been for me to stop it. But anyway, I've attached myself to the wrong file. And I just happened to use the same exact example and got caught in my own web of lies. So I'll go ahead and close that. Let's come back here to the blah file. This is the one I want to deal with. And so here I'll say, instead of text.txt, I'll say blah.txt. This is probably making some of you feel better because you were saying, why is he doing text.txt? That's not the name of the file. Okay, let's try this and see if it works. Okay, so we have this is some text, and then we have this is also some text. We've read in 2 lines, one at a time, because the next line reads in a file, or one line of text at a time, right? And so where did this information come from? Again, this is coming from a file that's saved out on the machine. And so I didn't type this in and print it out. It's coming from the file. And so what we're going to do next is kind of talk about this idea of how it reads it in and of a buffer. And we'll do that in the next video. Spencer out.